Hello class, this will be the second motion graphic demonstration and it will be the last class for this whole semester. And I hope you love all the concepts we have taught before. So after this demonstration, I will give you a project assignment. And here's what we're going to create in today's lesson. From the download link below, you will find the project files. And I also provided the sound effects that you can use for your video and background musics. This is our project folder, and I have a preview video here. And if you double click on the project file, it will load the project, the finished stage of the project. Okay, so basically, I subvert this logo from McDonald's and I created a FatDonald and take the concept that the fast food makes people fat, right? And I take the concept and I design this poster in Illustrator. And then I bring all of the files into After Effects. And then we can do a motion graphics of it. Okay. Let's say this is the dimension of the poster. If we want to make a motion graphic of it, we can keep its dimension. All right. So here we'll go to the image folder and select the background image, and we'll drop to create a new composition. Okay, so we'll use this one as our new final composition. So I'll bring it out, and I'll rename it as a new final comp. All right, so this is the background. Let's start with the logo. So we'll find the logo layer and bring it in. Here is it. So first, we would like to create this animation. It will slide in and also create the motion blur, and then it hit on the wall and squash, and then jump, and then bouncing and bouncing back. So first, we'll scale it down a bit, about 28. If we want the object to scale up and down from one point, we have to change its anchor point location, right? See, right now the anchor point is in the center, so it's rotating based on the center. So I'll use the pen behind tool and grab it to the side, and then switch back to selection tool. So this will be where the logo will stay eventually, right? Okay, so we can go to beginning. Let's see, from 0 second it will slide in. And we can go to its position key, so hit PK to go to the position channel. And at about 0 second, we can create a keyframe, and then it slide in. It ends at about 20 frame. Okay, we can add a second keyframe. So for the first keyframe, we can bring it out of the frame, so it will slide in. All right. Maybe a bit faster, so we can bring our first keyframe to 10. Let's see. Looks good. I think it looks better. All right, and then we can add a bouncing animation that we have done in the first class, right? So here, if we go to scale, we can create a keyframe on the scale, and from 0 to 20 frame. We wanted to keep its original scale. However, we want to break down the link of the X and Y. Okay, so let's see, now it hit on the wall and we want it to scratch. And we can put at 25 and we can change its X value and lower it down. Say we can do maybe 18. Right, scratch it down. And also, we can expand it. As it scratched down, we want to keep it volume, right? The volume is still stay the same. If we scratch down its X value, we want to expand it on its Y. So it makes it looks like a rubber band. Okay, and then goes about maybe 5 frame as well. We can let it go back. So this time we can do 32. And this value we can lower it down to about like 18. So it'll be like this. Maybe we should reduce the time here. So I'll just do 4 frame here, and then 3 frame here, and then I'll copy its original scale keyframe, which is a 28 by 28. So this is how it looks. Here we can give it 5 frame. Here 4 frame. Here's a 3 or 4. Let's see. Okay, so now it looks better. And then we can do the same type of animation to the hamburgers and chips and drinks. All right. However, instead of animate all of them, we'll just create animation for one, and we'll duplicate the animation. So first, let's get our drink at here. So we'll start with the drink. Use the pen behind tool to bring it to the bottom. Okay, and let's see the drink pump up at about like 115. Hit S key and unlink it and create the first keyframe. Okay, so in the beginning, we want the drink to be invisible, and then it kind of pump up. So what we can do is here I can put this Y value as 0, and then at about 5 frames, okay, I can increase it to let's say 20 on the Y value, and the X value we can shrink it down to 90, so it gets taller as well as thinner, right? And then we let it shrink back about 5 frames, so we can do maybe 85 and then make it wider and then give it back to 100 value. Okay, so this is how it looks. And then we can simply just copy this layer, hit Command D key, and move it first, reposition it. So here I would like to place it in the back here. We can go to the scale channel, hit S key to open the scale channel, and we can postpone the keyframe a little bit. So we have them to grow up at a different time. This is how it looks. And then you can get your fries here. And we'll do it the same way. So use the pen behind tool to change this anchor point down below here. And instead of manually create the keyframes, what I'll do is I'll just copy this keyframe and select fries and paste it here. Right? So I don't have to do them individually, and I can just duplicate the fries and reposition it. Switch back to selection tool, reposition it, place it in the back, and go to the scale. And maybe this time I'll just switch the time a little bit. So that's how I get this part works. So as you can see that I get motion blur. So the motion blur is here. So for any layer, if you have animation on that, if you check on motion blur, click on here, and then if I play, you can see that if I stop at this frame in between, now it's blurry. So if I check it off, this is how it looks. Right? Each keyframe is very clear. But if I check on motion blur, so when it is in motion, it'll have those blur to it. Okay, then here about the calorie. That is the dialog box. Okay, so I'll bring the dialog box in here. Okay, and we can keep the anchor point in the center since we'll let it just grow up from the center. And we can select both of the objects together and hit S key and create a scale keyframe. And let's see, we can create a scale keyframe at 3 seconds. And then at about 3 seconds, 5 frames, we'll add a second keyframe. So for the first keyframe, we'll put the value X and Y as 0. And then as it pump up, we can make it to 120. Okay, so goes to 120. And then shrink it down to about 85. Right, 85. And then goes back to 100. As you can see here, I have 5 frames in between. Here I have 4, here I have 3. Alright, and then what you can do is, let's see, it can now keep bouncing up here at about like 12 frames. Okay, we can create a keyframe here. So stay with 100 value, and then we can copy these 3 frames, right? So here's the 0, here's the 120, here's 85. So we can just use 120 to 85 to 100. So we'll just copy here to paste it here, copy here, here. Okay, so we'll have this animation happening. All right, and we can repeat this part. So we'll just copy and paste. All right, I'll just stop it here. So let's say you want them to grow up and jump at a different time. What we can do is we can select the text and just shift the keyframe back about like 5 to 6 frames. So it'll be like this. Maybe this is too much. Just a few, right? So you can have them to jump at a different time and it'll make it more dynamic. And you can also check out the motion blur. This is how it looks. Okay, if I just stop in the middle, it has blur to it. All right, now let's talk about the next part. So for here, as you can see that I add a lighting effect to it, and then add the text of the show as the light kind of go through the scene. I'll bring in the text. So how we can make it to kind of show from left to right is we'll create a mask and we'll animate the mask. All right, we can make it a little bit bigger, and then we can just use the rectangular tool, and we can create a mask and make it longer. So in the beginning, as you can see, nothing is showing because the mask is out of the frame. But however, as you can see, if the mask is including the text will start to showing up. So we can go to the mask here, and we can create a keyframe on the mask path, add 4 seconds, and then add maybe 5 seconds. We add a second keyframe and we double click on this mask to select the whole thing, and then bring it to the right. Okay, to include the whole text. So this is what it will show, right? As the mask will go through, the text will show. And then we'll just create a lighting effect. And we'll do that later, since we'll create it on a different comp. And then is the switch of this thinner guy to this fat guy. And this is how it works. And then we can go to the clone. And we can select the first one and create a new conversation. Right, we want it to stay in the conversation, and then bring in the second layer and third layer in here. For the thinner guy, as you can see, I have him to kind of waving his arm in the beginning. So you can use the puppet pin to do that. Okay, select the layer and create puppet pins. Okay, here's one, here's one, here's one. All right, and then we can go to the pin here under mesh, under deform. Second, third one, and fifth and the sixth one basically is the arm. So I'll go to these and we'll go to its keyframe. Okay, so I'll create a keyframe here. And then I say we'll net it to wave arm every second. So here we'll create a second keyframe. So we'll select the second key and we'll bring it up, and we'll bring this up as well. A little bit more, and bring this up, bring this up. Okay, here we have a gap. We don't want it to happen. So what we'll do is here I'll add a keyframe to kind of block that area. Here's another keyframe. Looks better, right? We fix it down. All right, and then we can just duplicate this keyframe. Now I go to 2 seconds, and I can just copy and paste the keyframes. And then, so we have this layer, and we'll just have to switch between these two. Select both of them, and we'll hit TK to go to opacity keyframe, and create the first keyframe, and we'll let it switch. So I'll go to 5 frames, and add a second keyframe. All right. So in the first keyframe, we'll make the fat guy as 0 opacity, and the second keyframe will make the thinner guy 0 opacity. So now we'll make them to switch. Alright, that's it. And then we'll go back to our final composition and bring in that comp we have created, the clone comp, and definitely make it smaller. And then we'll put the anchor point down at the bottom. Okay, and let's see, after the text is showing up at about 5 seconds and a half, we can let it pump up. Alright, so I'll go to the scale channel. Okay, for first the keyframe, and as we'll have done earlier, I'll cut first the keyframe and then about 22 frames. Okay, we'll add a second keyframe. So for the first keyframe, we'll just make the Y value as a 0, and at the second one, we'll make a taller and thinner, maybe a little bit more. 4 frames later, third keyframe we can shrink it down. Okay, and then fourth keyframe, we'll keep it as a 31, 31. Okay, so it will pump up. We can move this keyframe to the beginning, and then switch back to the selection tool, and then bring it back. And then the switch. Okay, so now the switch is a little bit late, so we can go back to here and just make the switch a little bit earlier, about like 1 second. Right, so we can select both the two layers, opacity, and bring it to 1 second. And if we go back to the final comp, here's it. They will switch it here. So as it is switch, we'll bring in the particle. Okay, and we overlap the particle right here, and bring it here, and go to its blending mode, and we'll do screen, or we can do lighten, or you can also do add. They all work similar. So here I'll just do screen. So here you can go to its opacity, create first a keyframe, and about few frames later, add a second keyframe. So first a keyframe will do 0 opacity. So it'll have this switch, right? So the particle kind of appear and then switch, and then you can add a particle to disappear, right? So here's the 100 value, here's the 0, so it'll disappear. So we have this transition. We only left the lighting here. So what we'll do is, here's our composition, right? The new final comp. So I'll drop it, create another composition. So I'll bring this one into the second one. And for this one, we'll just put a final. After that, here's where the text is gonna appear. So now go to the effect menu, generate, and lens flare. And then you can decide where to put the lens flare. See, it will start at this point. So you can put it here. So it start to appear about 4 seconds, right? So we'll go to 4 seconds. Here brightness as a 100, and before that, we'll make it as a 0. Right? So here you will appear, and then at 4 seconds, you can also create a keyframe for flare center. So add a keyframe here, and as the text goes to here. And then we can add a keyframe by just drag the position and bring it to a new spot, to here. Right. So now as you can see that the light is following with the text. We would like it to disappear. Right. So we'll add a keyframe on flare brightness, and we'll copy the first keyframe to here, so it'll disappear. It'll be 0 value. Right. And we can punish it to the next level. We can add a glow effect. So go to Effect menu, Style Light, and scroll down, you'll find the glow. And this is how it looks as a glow effect showing. We can reduce the intensity a little bit. And for the threshold, we can also lower it down. So just adjust the setting so you can find your best effects. Okay. Alright, and then we can let it to appear as the lighting appear. Go down below here, glow. Create a keyframe for glow intensity, and then at 4 seconds, add a keyframe. So for the first keyframe, we'll just reduce the glow intensity to 0. So now you can see that there's nothing to show, right? And it'll appear as the lighting comes up, right? And then we'll add a keyframe. And then in this composition, you can put a soundtrack in. So here, let's say I get the sound, I get the background music, so you can just drop it in here. All right, and as you play, as you hear that, it has an impact here, right? So I want the impact to be at the same time as the logo kind of slide in. So I can go down below here, go to the audio, go to the waveform so I can see the pattern. So the impact is here. So I want the impact to be slide to here. So what I'll do is cut this area, bring it back, right? And then you can add other sound. These are flash sound. The second one. So we can drop the first sound in here and bring it down below here and go to its waveform. Okay, we would like to make it happen when the drinks is pump up. Okay, so maybe it goes to here. All right. See? All right, so we have sound here. And then we can add our second sound and bring it in and bring in here and also go to its waveform. Okay. Right. So this is how it works. As you put more soundtracks in, you give it more detail, your video will be polished. Okay, so this is a whole series of lessons, and I hope everyone enjoyed it and learned a lot. And I know not everyone have installed the program on your personal device, and for those who don't have access to the program, it may be hard for you to kind of to understand how the concept works. But the videos will be staying online forever. So in the future, as the school reopens, you are very welcome to just reopen these tutorials and follow the tutorial and work on the program by yourself. All right.